On today's show, Kathy and Jason talk about how public transportation is a safe place and why, and Executive Director for Sunset Empire Transportation District Jeff Hazen tells us what the district does to keep people safe while using transit.
Well, good morning, Jason. It's time for another transportation talk. Can you imagine?
Good morning, Kathy. Yeah, you know what? I can imagine. I can totally imagine what it's like in knowing that we're going to record, right? Knowing that we're going to get a chance again to talk about transportation and some of the things. I mean, really, we're talking shop, but I'm really excited about this one, even though it's going to be kind of a hard subject, but we're going to try to make it bite-sized, make it easy for people to understand. But I'm excited to be here with you and to be with everyone out there listening and watching, I hope. So it's good to see you, Kathy.
Yes, good to see you too. And I definitely look forward to this. And, it's always a pleasure to make time in my schedule to do another transportation talk.
Absolutely. That's exactly where, my day has been today it's really, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's time to do transportation talk. And I don't know exactly if people are going to be able to really follow where we're at today. So I hope we do the best job of trying to communicate to people today. But Kathy, is transportation in the public realm, so public transportation, do you think it's safe?
I do. I think public transportation is safe. And
Yes.
I'm not just talking about right here in Clatsop, Columbia, or Tillamook counties. I'm
Right.
talking about in general. Public transportation in general is a safe space and a safe way to travel. And we should all try it more often.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, if there are some, people who might think or have a misunderstanding in whatever ways that public transportation is unsafe. Listen, we are talking about, we would not encourage individuals to hop on any form of transportation that would be unsafe, whether it's unsafe as far as the vehicles are concerned, or the drivers driving them, or unsafe in other ways. We wouldn't do that. So looking at that, I still believe that public transportation is more and more relevant than it's really ever been, especially nowadays. But the level of training, the level of retraining and attention to detail that our drivers, I know, go through, and of course their standards at the national and state levels that do everything in those powers to ensure that drivers are safe, to ensure that the drivers keep their passengers safe, and that they understand everything that they need to do so that we can say that public transit is safe. So, I mean, that is where it's at for me, is just all the training and all the checklists that they have to go through in order to become drivers, especially here at SETD, makes things pretty safe.
Absolutely. And I would just say that, I recently saw on a social media post that somebody wanted to ride one of the forms of transportation, and they were disappointed that that form wasn't available this summer because of the driver shortage. But they didn't want to ride in the other kinds of vehicles because they had heard some stories about our transit system being sketchy. And I thought to myself, that's a little strange.
It
And I
is.
wish that those people would reach out and actually ask to find out what the truth of the matter is. And I would say
Yeah.
that is a big, important thing. Just don't believe, whatever random stories you hear out and about. Verify those things, because
Yeah.
this technology really has provided an extra layer of safety on public transportation, because all of the public transportation buses in our region all have cameras on them. So
Yes.
anything that's going on those buses is visible and is able to be tracked and traced back.
Absolutely. And to those individuals out there that might have that feeling still, maybe perhaps, I agree with you, Kathy. They should just go ahead and give us a call. Schedule some time to meet with us, not only us, but we have operations managers. We even have an executive director. Bring some of those concerns out there so that at the very least we can we can show you, we can tell you, what, like, for example, our bus drivers, to become a bus driver here, you mentioned cameras and other pieces of technology that help keep them and passengers safe. Well, they have to go through multifaceted training courses and checklists and you name it, just to ensure that they know how to operate all those things, just to ensure that they know how to not only, operating the bus in general means to ensure that you know everything that there is to know about how that bus is to operate safely. And one of those things are cameras. One of those things are de-escalation procedures and so forth. So there are so many things out there that it takes for individuals to become bus drivers in the first place. But once they do so, there's a level of safety that's just baked right into that.
Absolutely. And that is really what I wanted to make sure that we brought out, is that it's not just you take somebody's word for it. But if something happened, then please bring it to somebody's attention, because
absolutely,
those videos can be watched and then followed up on. And we're always looking to improve and make things better for everybody.
And that's the desire to do that, the desire to improve and to be better in everything that we do as a transit district is where it's at, and it's where people can look at and say, oh, well, they're doing a great job. Their number one thing is to provide this service safely and securely for people. So Kathy, we're going to take a look at a video here. Hopefully you'll have a good time doing it. Kathy and I always enjoy making these videos. So please enjoy, and we'll be right back.
You have heard us encourage people to ride public transit or ride the bus pretty frequently. And you may have heard from someone who heard it from someone else that riding public transit is not safe. Well, it is important that we let you know, especially if you were feeling nervous about giving it a try. We would not be advocating for you to go by public transit if it was not safe.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hazen, Executive Director of Sunset Empire Transportation District. As the Executive Director, it's absolutely crucial that we provide safe service. The first two words of our mission statement are provide safe, and then it goes on to explain other things, but safe has got to be the number one priority for the district.
Hopefully, you are out there exploring and experiencing all the amazing places and events in our beautiful region, and maybe beyond. I have a great tip for you to keep in your virtual back pocket. If you ever find yourself in a situation that your gut tells you is not safe, a bus is a great resource. So keep an eye out for bus stops and buses, because bus drivers are a safe person to reach out to. They are trained to help, and they have radios to call for more help if it is needed.
At Sunset Empire, we really emphasize continuous training of all our people, not just our drivers, but everybody. And, but especially the drivers, they're trained on how to diffuse situations, how to provide trauma-informed care, because each person responds to different things based on their past. And so it's very, very important that we rise to that level of training. And this isn't just, once a year we do all our training. It's continuous throughout the whole year. Each month we have different trainings that we all take relative to our job. And so that's what makes us a safe system, is that constant training and follow-up with the drivers. We have driver supervisors that are out on the road watching things, monitoring things. They can respond when needed to any incidences, and they're able to take that incident and help train other people. It's always good to have those examples to be able to share with other drivers.
Remember, we want you to enjoy riding the bus and feel safe while doing so. Confusion, anxiety, and even fear of the unknown can cause you to lose confidence in your safety while trying to get around on public transit. One of the best actions you can take against that fear is to speak to a transit professional
such as a bus driver or transit center personnel, as they are there, ready and trained to help you whatever the circumstances may be. Public transportation is a safe place. Come ride the bus.
Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did. And I just want to kind of recap. We've gone over why buses are safe because our bus drivers are trained and the equipment is maintained.
Right.
Now I'd like to discuss the fact that our riding public transit is a safe place to be even if you weren't planning on riding it. So
Yeah.
public transit is a safe space. So if you are in an unsafe situation, if you find yourself lost or
Right.
not knowing where to go or you've lost somebody, bus drivers are safe people to talk to
Yeah.
because they're trained. And again, we've got the cameras. They also
Right.
have radios so they can communicate with people outside of the bus.
Absolutely. I mean, all that stuff is really important. And especially, Kathy, you mentioned, the communications part of it. You can have all the safety procedures in the world, and though they will work and help, having a lack of communication in contrast to having communication is a real bad way to operate a bus. And so, yeah, having that ability to be able to communicate this situation, to whatever authority that they have. So, like for example, for us, if there's some minor, issues and stuff, there's a procedure that we have to go through to ensure that the proper people understand. In most cases, first of all, it's emergency services, but then directly right after that, it's supervisors. We want to make sure that everyone's, in the loop there, and being able to convey to the passengers, the driver meaning, they have to have the ability. So part of their training is to be that person that can speak and convey a message, to the drivers. It can be anything from get out, to discussing, why there's a flat tire and what they have to do to fix the flat tire and how to get off the bus. Right. So there's those levels of things that they have to do. They have to be very approachable. And I think that's really important.
Yes. And our drivers do receive all kinds of training in those kind of situations, like you were talking about, de-escalation and leadership. And, one of the best trainings that I know that I've seen is the busing on the lookout training that our bus drivers take. And it's not just that they are taking care of those people that are riding the buses. They are trained to have an awareness of the area and the community that they're driving in.
Right. Yeah. That is so important. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I still remember the day that I was in that training and seeing what the industry that I'm in, the level of potential harm that can be there, but the mitigation practices that are put into place to help prevent that happen or to definitely suppress it. And isn't it just amazing how you can sit there and we hear from time to time, we'll definitely hear a lot more than the general public would hear about this, but of, bus drivers being on the lookout, whether or not it's being on the lookout that there's a little baby on the street corner somewhere by themselves and that bus driver helps that individual, or being, alert to the fact that there might be someone in distress, some form of human trafficking might be taking place. And there are some very minute details that have to be, looked at and studied and then determined, what to do next. And our bus drivers are trained to do that. And that training was incredibly important. And I know it's paid dividends to SETD.
Absolutely. And I also vividly remember watching and taking that training. And shortly thereafter, hearing that one of our drivers actually saved somebody's life. And it wasn't in the human trafficking vein. It was they were driving a route and they saw a vehicle parked in a spot that a vehicle normally isn't parked. And the driver called it in and saved the person's life. They had had a heart attack and they needed medical attention. And so in that vein, our bus drivers are trained, and we certainly appreciate that from a community standpoint,
Right.
and also want to make sure that people realize that that means that buses and drivers and transportation districts create a safe space for our community.
Exactly. Yeah. By being on the lookout, right? By
Mhm.
ensuring that they recognize certain, key moments in their route. I mean, you got a bus operator driver who's running her out all day long, and things get to be pretty commonplace and easy in some cases for them to recognize something that's out of place, like that vehicle
Mhm.
is just out of place, shouldn't have been there. But
Mhm.
overall, Kathy, as we start to kind of wrap up this idea, it's okay for us to say that sometimes that we might be a little fearful. It's okay to say that we have a little bit of concern from time to time, but it's also okay to say that your transportation district, our transportation district, does everything that they can to ensure that not only do you feel safe, right, but that you really are safe, that the things that they're being done, that they're doing behind the scenes, that they're training for on every single day, are designed to help you be able to confidently get on that bus, get on whatever form of public transportation we're offering, and get to where you need to go safe and sound. And that takes dedication. That takes a
It
lot of
does.
dedication to do that.
It does, and we are so grateful to our drivers for creating those spaces and being those leaders in our community. And so,
Mhm.
again, just like to make sure that everybody knows that buses are a safe space.
Yes, they're a safe space. And Kathy, with that, it is time to close yet another episode of Transportation Talk. And we spoke about a bus, public transportation being a safe place. And I hope people out there took a little bit heart to that. And I hope mostly though that if they have questions, right, that
Mm-hmm.
they can post them right below here, and we'll read them as often as or as quickly as possible. They can email us, they can
Mm-hmm.
call us and talk to us. Not
Mm-hmm.
only just us, anybody here at the district can speak with you about any
Mm-hmm.
concerns you might have about being safe on public transit. So Kathy, if you got anything in closing, go for it. But other than that, I've had a great time talking to you about this and giving this important piece of information out to the public.
Absolutely. And sometimes we have hot days, sometimes we have cold days.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to get out of whatever weather it is. Buses are
Yep,
a safe space. Get out there and
absolutely.
ride the bus, and we'll see you out there. Have a
All
great
right.
weekend.
Do it. Have a great weekend, y'all. Take care. Bye bye.